paint peeling off them old brick signs. Folks work hard, keep their heads down, trying to hold on to better times. Used to leave your door unlocked at night. Now everybody's got a camera on. Still got faith if we get it right, we can fix what's gone wrong. Ain't about talk, ain't about show. It's about the way we live, the way we know. Let's get back to dirt roads, back to porch lights. Neighbors standing up when it ain't polite. Cold beer, hot true styles up above. A little less noise and a whole lot of love. Red, white, blue ain't a trend we chase. It's sweat on your shirt and calloused hands grace. If we're gonna stand, we don't stand apart. We gotta get
Good evening and welcome into Apex News Above the Noise. I am Kyle Thompson.
And I'm Craig Blanton, ready for a good show today.
Big one. Big show tonight. Big board that we have worked up before we got started tonight. We start in the United States Senate where two retiring Republicans have stopped the president retiring. That's what we're saying. That's what we're calling now. Retiring Republicans have stopped the president's attorney general nominee cold. And the president's answer this morning was that he'll simply wait out those two men until they are out of office. Then we're going to go to Seattle where the mayor fired her police chief last night. Doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it's 4 days after a mass shooting at a food festival that killed 3 people and where the failures the public actually experienced may not have been the chief's fault at all, or it could have been all his fault. We'll have to get into that a little bit. Then to Iran, where CENTCOM launched what it called a heavy wave of strikes overnight. The Revolutionary Guard has promised to answer. An American ally is already counting casualties. Then we're going to head to Springfield, Ohio, where legal protection for thousands of Haitian residents expired Monday, and a Republican governor, Mike DeWine, is publicly telling the administration not to do what it has said it will do, which is bring in ICE. So we've got side topics tonight as well, as we always usually do, but we kind of plan for it tonight. The border collapsing at Spain's African enclave. It's crazy. The Fed is holding rates with 3 dissents, which is very odd, that nobody expected. And at the end of the show, we're going to look back at 4 years of press coverage of Anthony Fauci with the receipts. So let's get right into that. But before we do, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We created this show so that you could have all the news that you need without all of the spin. We try to stay above the noise. If tonight gives you anything to think about, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share it and like it as well. And make sure you click on that notification bell so that you are notified every time we're about to go live. Now, let's get into it, Craig.
Yeah, that's my phone.
Late Wednesday night, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley canceled Thursday's scheduled vote on Todd Blanche's nomination to be the Attorney General of the United States. Not delayed for scheduling, he canceled it because the votes were not there. And they were not there because of 2 Republicans, Senator John Cornyn of Texas and Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, are both on that committee, and both have refused to commit. In a committee this closely divided, a no vote from either one sinks the nomination. Grassley's office put it about as diplomatically as you can put a defeat, saying the chairman works to set the president's nominees up for success in committee, not failure, and the markup is postponed while work continues to secure sufficient support. Read that sentence again, Craig. That is a Republican chairman publicly acknowledging that a Republican president's nominee for Attorney General doesn't have the votes in a Republican-controlled committee, although we know the way Thom Tillis and John Cornyn are thinking right now, which is simply, John Cornyn was defeated soundly, embarrassingly, and then Thom Tillis was going to get primaried and decided to retire instead. And so now they're holding up the entire process. The other thing is that Todd Blanche, who is currently acting as the Attorney General and one of President Trump's personal defense attorneys before that, and on the calendar, this is not a small delay. Both Cornyn and Tillis leave Congress at the end of this year, so we're talking another 5 months-ish before that, 4 months, I guess now, for that to happen. Well, no, 5. Craig, start with how unusual this is. A Republican chairman canceling a vote on a Republican president's attorney general nominee because 2 Republicans won't commit. When was the last time you saw a Senate committee tell a president of its own party no on a cabinet post? And what does it take to get us here, and where do we go?
Yeah, usually the president's the one that makes a request to pull somebody back.
Correct.
And in this case, you got Cornyn, who got the snot beat out of him by Ken Paxton.
Right.
You know, Cornyn was going for, I think, was it his 6th term? I believe, something like that. Fifth for sure. And then Tillis, he's just got a burr under his saddle for Trump lately. But he said if Trump would come off of that $1.8 billion, what the press labeled the slush fund, then he would vote for Blanche. But because he doesn't want Trump to have control, because he thinks it looks bad. But he's leaving office.
And you need both of them, because that committee is a one person,
one vote committee.
One vote change.
You can't have a tie because that won't work either.
Nope.
And
can't get it out of committee.
Cornyn's just doing it because he's just being vindictive.
Absolutely,
I think. And Tillis is doing it because of, like what I said, that fund, and he'll switch in the end. And I'm wondering if it's because Todd Blanche is not letting any grass grow under his feet. He is everywhere at the same time, getting all kinds of stuff done for the president.
It is entirely possible.
And I don't know, because, you know, most attorney generals don't really do a lot of this stuff. Obama's attorney general did pretty well for him, because they called him Obama's personal attorney.
Right.
And that now the Democrats are calling Blanche Trump's personal attorney, which in this case he really was.
He really was. It's
Really
a little
was
different this time. He really was his personal attorney.
Eric Holder wasn't really Obama's personal attorney, but he carried out everything Obama wanted.
Carried his water. He never pushed back on
his water. So that's what it is. I think he'll get done. And if he does, it'll be good for America.
May not be till the first of the year, though. That is the reality.
But he's in there a time limit on these guys too? How long they can be appointed, or can they be appointed the whole 4 years?
Oh, they can be appointed the whole 4 years.
Oh, okay. Because he's exposed or not exposed, but criminalized a bunch of fraud.
Yep.
And taken it to court. Yeah. So he's doing. I think he's doing a great job. I think he's the best attorney general we've had in quite a while.
Well, the question then people are going to ask is, what is the objection? It's not personal, as you said, and it's not about Blanche's resume, which is fine. It's well deserved. It's about two specific things. Both of them are worth understanding because they're more interesting than the politics, really. The first is a proposed fund. The Justice Department at one point floated a $1.776 billion fund to compensate people it deemed victims of weaponization by the department. Cornyn and Tillis want a written assurance that the fund is dead, although the idea of the fund had been pulled and they said it was dead. They want something permanently to say that
they don't want January 6th people to get renumerated.
Correct. Formally and permanently before they vote. The second is the settlement of the president's lawsuit against the Internal Revenue Service. That settlement included provisions shielding the president and members of his family from tax audits. That is no bueno.
Yeah, can't do that.
Not a good look.
No, terrible look. I think
it's
been audited like 30 years in a row.
Of course, and we've said this. Look, when you give out blanket pardons like Biden did, it's a bad look. It's going to come back and bite you. It's going to bite your reputation. This is the exact same thing. You can't say, I don't ever want to be audited again. Come on. It's not how it works. So that's dumb anyway.
They audit every big company in America every year.
And he should be prepared for that. That's why you have good accountants.
It's got a whole department of accountants.
Yeah,
that's all big corporations do.
Yeah, Cornyn's position is narrow and specific. He wants it modified so that the protection covers only audits that already exist and does not extend to the examination of the president's future tax filings. That's the entire dispute. That's it. Two retiring senators wanted in writing that a government fund won't be revived and that a sitting president's future tax returns remain auditable like everyone else's, as they should be.
Right. Yep.
Cornyn said flatly that the administration has refused to cooperate. Tillis went further. He said that if the chairman held the markup anyway, he would simply not show up, denying the committee a quorum rather than let his chairman preside over a public failure. He called the odds a coin toss and said they were running out of time. Craig, strip the names off this, all right? Strip the letters after their name.
How can you do that? Go ahead.
Yeah, two senators are saying they'll confirm the attorney general once they have it in writing that a president's future tax returns can still be audited. is that even a reasonable condition for the office that oversees federal law enforcement? Or is it two lame duck senators extracting a concession because they
In
can?
the case of the audits, they're right. Trump needs to be subject to audits just like you and I are. And
100%.
everybody else. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. As should Don Jr. and so should
Yeah.
Eric. And
But Trump and his companies have been audited. He's stated it before since the 1990s, since he became rich. And when you own hotels, office buildings, golf courses across the planet, you're gonna get audited.
you should expect it.
But now look at it, flip the side. They audit somebody like Trump or Bill Gates or somebody like that, but they let all this fraud go on for years and years and years in all these different states, including Kentucky. There was an article in the Lexington Herald. Did I send that to you, the Lexington Herald article? I read it first thing this morning. I did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you sent it to me this morning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because and it was, if they don't check things like that, why are they always going after the guys that got an army of attorneys and an army of accountants that are going to fight everything you say?
Well, I think there's two sides of this. First of all, the slush fund for anybody who is a conservative and a fiscal conservative, you don't remunerate people at this point. If they want to sue the federal government and try to show that qualified immunity doesn't last, they should do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't set up a slush fund where everybody gets to come in begging, and that is going to be fraught with fraud. It
Right.
will be. It'll have to be, because
Accusations everywhere.
absolutely, and it'd be terrible. Second thing is, so put it in writing. We're going to kill that. It's a bad idea to begin with. It's a bad look. Most conservatives, most Republicans don't want that. The other aspect is to say that I can't be audited in the future. That's a joke. You can't do that. It's like giving yourself a blanket pardon, which was already bad enough with what they did with Fauci the other day, for future tax violations. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't do that.
If there's any.
So put it in writing. Put it all in writing. Wrap it up and be done with it.
Done with it. Yeah, that's it. It's nothing to it.
No.
This is minor on the scale of everything he's dealing with. This is so
Get them
below
in
the
here.
radar.
If that's their demands, give them what they want based upon those demands and move along. However, this morning, the president answered, and instead of just saying, "Fine, we'll do what you want," on Truth Social, Donald Trump said he has no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd Blanche's name if the senators do not do what he considers the right thing. This is where hubris and ego are getting.
I didn't know if you'd seen that or not.
And putting the nomination back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office. In the meantime, Blanche remains acting attorney general. Do the arithmetic on that, because the arithmetic is the story. Cornyn and Tillis leave in early January. That is roughly 5 months from now. Under this plan, the United States would have an unconfirmed acting attorney general running the Justice Department for 5 more months, which he's already been doing for 5 months, close to it, specifically in order to avoid a Senate vote the president expects to lose. And then the same nominee would be resubmitted to a Senate that no longer contains the 2 men who objected. They'd have 2 new members. Ideally, for the Republicans, they'd still be in control of the Senate.
Right.
Because if they're not, you're not getting anybody passed.
And a litmus test will be, are you going to vote for Todd Blanche?
Absolutely.
Before they get on that powerful committee.
Absolutely. Acting officials serve under statute. Presidents withdraw and resubmit nominations, and there's nothing in the Constitution that requires a president to accept the first answer he gets. But legal and healthy are different questions, and the second one is the one worth this entire 15-minute section on this program. Craig, the part I keep turning over in my head, and you and I have talked about this, the confirmation process exists so the Senate can put conditions on executive power. If the answer to a Senate that says no is to keep your nominee in the job as an acting official until the senators who objected are gone, what exactly is left of advice and consent?
Well, it's all down to politics, and I want to know if the shoe was on the other foot, because Democrats vote. You got to give them credit. They vote in unity. They follow they follow their speaker, their House leader and their Senate leader, like a lamb off a cliff. They are usually 211 to 0, or they're rarely, and only senator would be Fetterman. And most of the time, probably 95% of the time, he votes along with them anyway. So, but Republicans...
He threatens that he won't, but he ends it.
Republicans just cannot. They did it in the first Trump administration. They did it in the George Bush administration. They just cannot get out of their own way to pass legislation that I believe will help America. It drives me crazy how Democrats are so unified and Republicans aren't.
Well, and I don't know if that means
it's a good thing. It's a good
it is.
thing.
It means the Republican Party's not a monolith, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
It truly is not.
When you're fighting against the other major party in power, which hilariously is a monolith, even though internally they're fighting over control of whether left-wing socialists have control
Right.
of
But that's just
policy.
started. Yeah, that's just started.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who.
And the news
caucuses
media
are
is finally asking some of these Democrat legislators what they think about the Democrat Socialists of America Party. It's good. It's good that they're finally doing it because, they're chasing them down the congressional hallways saying, what do you think about this? And is this going to implode your party? Are you going to lose control of your party?
Yeah.
It's finally good to see them doing that. But most of them are like us. They're not official CNBC or NBC or reporters like that.
As Tim Burchett says, the day of citizen journalists is upon us.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves.
Oh, he does. He absolutely does. So he doesn't have to make the video. He likes it when somebody else has to make it.
Yeah.
Him and John Kennedy. There is a reason this fight is happening now and not 2 years ago, and it has nothing to do with ideology, though, Craig. Cornyn and Tillis are leaving. We know that. They are not running again. There is no primary to lose. No endorsement to chase.
One of them lost the primary.
Well, not any, but there's not a future one coming. There's no donors to keep happy at this point. Whatever pressure the White House can normally apply to a Republican senator does not apply to these guys. And fine. I mean, we knew that once you lose or you're not running again, we knew this was the potential. Same goes for Thomas Massey in the House. We know that he's doing that as well. And I want to be careful here because it cuts at both parties, though. If the only members of a legislature willing to impose conditions on an executive of their own party are the ones that are on their way out the door, then check that the Constitution assigns to the legislature those checks and balances are not really operating, right? If you have to live at the foot of whatever the executive says, Republican or Democrat, then the checks and balances aren't necessarily working. And CNN framed the stakes for the White House plainly, saying this is a political problem for a president with a pivotal midterm coming up in a Congress of his own party that has struggled to deliver on his demands.
Right.
The committee has no rescheduled date. Blanche stays acting for now. Craig, the phrase people are using around the Capitol for these two is the YOLO caucus. Senators who vote how they want because they're leaving. Is that a compliment or is it an indictment? Obviously, they don't care. Blanche, because I can't decide with Blanche whether I'm watching two men find their spine for the first time or two men reveal that everyone else lost their spines at this point.
Well, I think on Cornyn, he just got beat. He got beat by a Trump-endorsed candidate, and that was it.
Got beat bad.
Hard feelings, just like Bill Cassidy.
As soon as they opened or closed the polls,
it was done. It was done. But Tillis, I think he's standing on principle a little bit because I've always respected him.
Agreed.
And his from what I've seen, his only thing is this IRS settlement. Now, if Trump had just said, "Hey, y'all exposed some of your rogue IRS agents, exposed all my financial data, which is a crime, to the New York Times. They published it, which they're allowed to do because of the First Amendment. What if that $1.8 billion settlement went in his bank account? What would the news media say then if Trump just said, "Hey, I'll just take the money"? If he never created that slush fund because he's trying to be a good guy and get votes, and all that kind of crap. But what if Trump just said, "I'll take that $1.8 billion and stick it in my bank account because of what the IRS did"? What would happen then?
Well, I mean, I that would also be awful. That would be a terrible, terrible, terrible look.
Teach the IRS a lesson, but it was to be at the taxpayer's expense.
I'm going to go on the opposite side of this and talk about. We all remember Lois Lerner, the former director of the IRS, who all but admitted that they had weaponized the IRS.
Yeah, she's an idiot.
I'll go back. I was audited because I helped run a campaign for a senator, and I was audited. And they told me that the agent that showed up at my office was very clear why I was being audited. Ended up costing me $72, by the way. That's all they wanted me to end up paying.
They spent tens of thousands to get $72.
Yeah, it was $72. But those people, I don't need to be compensated. But there are people who were prosecuted, persecuted, however you want to put it, because of their political beliefs, and the IRS has all but admitted that. Those people have a right to sue if they want to, if they find out, and they can challenge whether qualified immunity attaches to the agency, whether they acted outside of that. They can do all that. What Trump is trying to do is essentially set up a bypass to what we have in this country, which is legal recourse. You get an attorney, you file lawsuits, you do what you got to do. He's trying to bypass that and essentially get a Morgan and Morgan type, settlement that, instead of having to, get a class action, here's the money already, everybody apply, and that's going to be a mess too. I don't like the look of that. Just let people sue if they need to sue. If I wanted to sue when it happened, I could hire a lawyer and sue somebody. The reality is it's going to cost me too much money to do that anyway, and it cost me $72. Was it a pain in the butt? Absolutely.
Sure, yeah, but Trump's got them on retainer.
He does. He does.
He's got his own. They're all there. He's got a whole crew of lawyers, some of the best in the country, and I think he would have been better off on his lawsuit, which he should have won, because the IRS cannot expose your personal finances. If he had just kept the money himself, because the IRS settled for $1.8 billion. I mean, that's ridiculous in the first place.
It proves my point. If they did the
What
same thing to somebody else,
did he sue him for $100 billion?
Yeah.
Something like that, and settled for 1.8, so people would say that's a win. But he'd have been better off if he'd have just put it in his bank account, or if he'd have given it to charity.
He could finish the ballroom, I guess, right?
Yeah, he could pay for the ballroom himself.
Get people real wound up.
That's the thing is the news media, of course, they ran crazy with it. And
sure, right.
Because it was January 6th, and that's all they've got is January 6th.
But at this point, all he has to do is just give these two concessions. And yeah, for a news cycle, they're going to say, "Ha ha, Thom Tillis," and they, they got what they wanted. And
then here's what'll happen: if he drops bombs on Iran, they're saying he wants to change the news cycle,
change the narrative, right?
Even though he's been bombed on 14 out of the last 16 days.
Yeah, changing the narrative.
But that's what. Yeah, Trump should just cave to what they want, be done with it, and move on.
Move on. Get your attorney general in. Be done with that.
Yep.
Move along.
Yep.
He got his DNI. Now he move on with Blanche.
Yep.
From a stalled nomination in Washington to a firing in Seattle, where a mayor removed her police chief last night, 4 days after 3 people were killed at a summer food festival, and where the questions the public is actually asking may not be about the chief at all. He is the one that was fired. We're going to talk about everything that happened on Sunday evening and what led up to this, but some of the things you and I were talking about that have come out over the last couple of days are shocking, to say the least. About, I mean, he's essentially a work from home police chief that lives in Chicago, but
been off work 47 days.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Sunday evening, July 26th, in the closing hours of the Bite of Seattle Food Festival at the Seattle Center, gunfire broke out near the Armory. Police say 2 groups exchanged fire, that this was a targeted incident between those 2 groups. They refused to say what those 2 groups are. I think
not groups, gangs.
Yeah, you can't say that.
No,
it's just groups of people.
In the article. It's in that article I sent you.
It is.
Gang-related shooting.
Yeah, they have been the mayor and this police chief and everybody else have bent over backwards to not call it gang violence, but be that as it may. Yeah. That distinction matters for the investigation. It did not matter at all to the people standing there. 3 people were killed. Ashley Whitehead, 56 years old. Carlos Israel Sanchez Vallaba, 44. Neither had anything to do with it. The third person killed was 19-year-old Junior C. Nico Simo, who investigators believe was one of the gunmen. At least four more people were wounded. A 15-year-old boy was arrested at the scene and was charged Wednesday with first-degree assault with a firearm enhancement and a second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm. Detectives are still looking for a third suspect.
Yeah, they finally named a third.
Yeah, and have acknowledged
back up
conflicting.
1 second. Of those four, one of them was a 2-year-old.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
So that's what makes it. They were just randomly shooting.
Yeah. Well, and they're young, dumb kids who don't understand firearm safety, walking around with guns.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, stuff pops off, and they think that they're American gangsters. Shooting at everything sideways.
Right.
Which is exactly how
holding it like this.
Yeah.
Let's see, where am I at? Holding it like that instead of like that. I'll get one off my desk if you want me to show you.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'd like for this video not to be demonetized, please.
Yeah, we'll get dinged for that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Just like last night. We can't mention that doctor guy. Oh, we'll mention him at the end. Detectives are still looking for a third suspect, one that they just named, and there are conflicting eyewitness accounts. Investigators recovered 3 firearms and 14 shell casings. Among the guns, a ghost gun, one that was made by a 3D printer,
Yep.
and a Glock 45 that had been modified with an auto switch, a device that converts a pistol to fully automatic fire. 2 of those 3 details are federal felonies before anyone pulls a trigger.
It's a federal felony all by itself.
It is. Before we get to City Hall, the hardware, a ghost gun and a Glock with an auto switch. You and I are both gun owners at a family food festival. With
I got a 45 right. I got a 45 right over there.
Yeah, those switches are already illegal under federal law, and they are everywhere. Unfortunately,
you can print them.
You can 3D print them, and there's YouTube videos, TikTok videos that show you how to install them.
It'll empty a 15-round mag in about 3/4 of a second.
Yeah,
it's that fast.
Let me ask you this: what does enforcement actually look like on that? And is anyone serious about it at this point? We should probably have Jason Gilbert on here to talk about.
You're talking about enforcement on the switch or
the switches and the ghost gun.
Well, I mean, you can print them. What can you do? You can't police everybody's house.
It's like podcast equipment. Some people shouldn't have it. Right. Looking at us.
Yeah. But the event. This isn't just some small random thing in Seattle, this food festival.
Oh, no.
It's attended over 3 days by 350,000 people, sometimes over 400,000 people.
Yeah.
So this is their biggest event of the year. I'm guessing. But I know it's one of them.
It's one of
their largest. When you get there, so this isn't where it's just a bunch of young people on a beach or in a shopping center, and they just start squeezing off rounds. This is a family event that gets 350,000 people. And these guys just come in. And granted, it was on Sunday night, so the event was almost over. They didn't have to cancel anything or something like that. But if it had been on Saturday or if it had been on Friday, they'd have canceled the whole event, and all those vendors would have lost millions.
Well, let's talk about the timing, because you and I were exchanging text messages when this came through, and then we didn't hear anything for a long time. We thought it might have been false flag.
I watched the videos, though.
Yeah. Here is where this becomes a governance story rather than a crime story, and we'll show some of the news coverage here in a second. The shooting was first reported around 6 p.m. and was on Twitter, and actually X sent out notifications saying, stay away from this area.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
The city of Seattle has an emergency alert system. It's called Alert Seattle. It is designed to push a text message to people's phones when something dangerous is happening. On Sunday night, with a shooting at a crowded public festival and at least one gunman unaccounted for, no alert was ever sent. Asked why, Mayor Katie Wilson, one of our favorite socialist mayors, said she was not sure that is a tool the city normally uses in situations like that, and that officials were focused on getting accurate information out through their normal channels. City Council member Bob Kettle, who chairs the council's Public Safety Committee, said the concerns about Alert Seattle were legitimate. Then the information itself, the mayor's office did not post anything until roughly 8:30 p.m.
5 hours.
They originally put out, we're going to have a press conference, not until 5 hours later.
Right.
Did they ever? And in fact,
I watched it.
Some of the video that came out, they were saying we're waiting on dignitaries.
Yep. And that would be Representative Jai Paul.
Essentially what they're saying now is They were waiting on
her.
their federal representatives to get there so that they could make some type of policy and social awareness.
Did you see the press
look.
conference?
I did see the press conference. Yeah.
Okay, man. And Representative Jayapal, her face didn't change expression when that reporter says, "Why did it take 5 hours for you to tell us? In the beginning, it was only one shooter. Now you're telling us 2. Which is it? And why did it take 5
And
hours?"
it ended up being 3.
And it ended up being 3 today. And what did we really have to wait on the other elected officials for this press conference so they could get their face in front of the camera? And man, Jayapal did not move.
And
She didn't blink.
The other aspect, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The news sources in Seattle did not hold back. They were on it, and I was here for it. Some of the ones that they have who are not conservative leaning at all, they were hot about this. Why is it taking 5 hours? What are we waiting on? Then come to find out, they went out and did a search of all of the CCTV cameras that they have in that area. And when they asked Katie Wilson about it, she said, "We're pulling that footage to see what we can find out." What they found out now is it was Katie Wilson and the Seattle committee who has pushed so hard to get rid of flock cameras and other CCTV cameras because they don't want marginalized groups, and they're not talking about minority groups. They're talking about undocumented illegal immigrants being seen on these cameras. They've removed them all from these areas. So now where there used to be cameras that would have been very helpful, they believe that's part of the thing that is taking as long as it has as well. And unfortunately, that's where things get even crazier, because then they said, "Where's the police chief? He should be the one at the press conference with us, right?"
He should have been on a plane back anyway, because you don't know there's going to be a shooting on Sunday night.
Yeah.
You
don't. And listen, police chiefs, they go to conferences, they do things. I'm not faulting him for that. He stayed at the conference.
Right. That's the bad part.
Yeah.
It wasn't worthy of his time to go back to Seattle to guide his city through this terrible event.
I will say, as a former city official, and we had some incidents while I was here, including the flood, and we had some deaths, unfortunately, and things. There is a legitimate argument that putting out fast information that turns out to be wrong causes harm a lot of times too, and we get that. And her office proved that by getting it wrong the first time by saying 1, then 2, now it's 3 people.
Yeah.
But 5 hours to a podium and no emergency alert at all. Nobody's saying there's a gunman out there that we haven't caught yet, or what they even look like, or to stay in shelter in place. Where's the line? You worked in the sheriff's department. Where's the line between being careful and leaving the public completely in the dark for your own political purposes?
They should have been out quickly, because when the shooting occurred, from other stuff I'd read last night and today, the vendors left their business wide open. They just hit the ground running. People left their purses behind. They did not want to take the time to look for them. All kinds of stuff was left behind, and the police chief was not there. The mayor didn't think it was worthy to come on for 3 minutes. We've seen plenty of events like this where the FBI or the police chief comes on and says,
"Just take your phone. Take your phone.
Here we are. This is what we got, and we'll have another scheduled press conference in 2 hours." It's too soon to have any information, but we want to get out in front of the public to assure the public that the event's over, the shooting guys are over, and we're working diligently to gather information. The same old rigmarole that they do all the time. But man,
just remember,
Katie Wilson, she couldn't bother to get out of her Democrat Socialist America bubble, who is anti-police, and go out there and say, "Hey, we screwed up."
Well, same thing happened in Providence, Rhode Island, when they had the shooting at Brown University, where they didn't tell anybody things were happening, and somebody else died. Right? I mean that's the problem.
And then they found the video of the dude just casually walking through town like
off a Ring camera.
Yeah, off of nothing.
Again, had the Seattle administration come forward and said, "Hey, anybody that has a Ring camera in this block, can you go ahead and pull it?" citizens would have done that.
Right.
They would have been happy to do that, and it would have been helpful. But there's this policy of we don't like surveillance. We don't like. Remember, they wanted all body worn cameras for all police officers. Now they don't want that.
Right.
And so now we're back into the no surveillance is what we want. Let's get to what the local police is saying now, because the police chief was then terminated this morning.
Right.
We begin tonight with breaking news. Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes released from his position by Mayor Katie Wilson. Fox 13 can now confirm the reports through 5 different sources. Sources telling Fox 13 Barnes began texting several people this evening discussing his dismissal. Barnes had been scheduled to conduct one-on-one interviews with Seattle media Wednesday afternoon, but those interviews were abruptly canceled. Fox 13 captured Barnes at the silent vigil held tonight for the Bite of Seattle shooting victims at the Seattle Center around 6:30. Barnes placed flowers at the scene before leaving abruptly. Sources telling Fox 13 he had a meeting with the mayor after the vigil. On Sunday night, the Seattle Police Department and city officials faced criticism after waiting several hours to hold a news conference about the Bite of Seattle shooting. 5 hours after the shooting, officials finally provided an update with Assistant Chief Tyrone Davis in attendance, but Chief Sean Barnes did not attend. On Monday morning, Barnes was present at a second Bite of Seattle shooting investigation news conference with Mayor Katie Wilson. He told media outlets he was out of town Sunday, attending the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives Conference hosted in Dallas. After Monday morning's press conference, video captured a confrontation between Barnes and a reporter.
Let me tell you something. I don't have to tell you where I go. I have a medical procedure I got to do on Friday. No. You need to know this. I have been here working as hard as I can for this city from the day I got here. Do you got that?
You listen to me.
But there are
reports that you are not in town often.
Their reports are wrong. Do you understand?
Let's go, man. Let's go.
You understand?
So when
I work.
Let's go. Thank you.
That guy's lost his job too, by the way.
Yes, he has.
So that's the end of the video. And now I think you've got the information on how many days he's really out of office.
Yeah, we have that here too. Now, to reiterate, the chief, Sean Barnes, was not in Seattle on Sunday. He was in Dallas attending a conference of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. Noble is what they go by. Assistant Chief Tyrone Davis was designated acting chief and led the early briefing. And to be fair, before we go any further, police chiefs attend conferences. You know that. You work at the sheriff's office. Yeah. Your guys go to continuing education. You go to conferences. You get awards. Apparently,
the sheriff went to the National Sheriff's Association. Yeah. I mean, he only did it once or twice, I think. But
they do that. That is part of the job, and it's a big city that he's in as well. So
just like our mayor goes to,
of course,
national stuff in D.C. also.
Absolutely, it's how departments and politicians work, and they learn from each other. And a chief being at a professional conference on a Sunday is not by itself a scandal. What turned it into one was the answer. At a press conference, a reporter for the South Seattle Emerald named Connor Nash asked Barnes about reports that he is frequently out of town. Barnes did not deflect it, and really did not explain it. He told the reporter he does not have to say where he goes, that he's been working as hard as he can for the city since the day he arrived, and demanded to know whether the reporter the reporter had gotten that on camera. 4 days after 3 people were killed, and then KOMO News obtained his schedule, the records show that Chief Barnes was outside the Seattle area nearly a dozen times over a 4-month period, which it wasn't one day every time. And then you found out that 7 were work-related conferences, not just one conference. He went to 7 conferences and 4 trips to Chicago for longer than 5 days at a time each time he went, where, get this, his family and he live in Chicago full time. This is the police chief of Seattle, and he and his family, his wife and children and him, live in the Chicago area.
Yep.
That's the sequence that ended his career, not the absence. It was the answer. And then the records that made the answer look like something he did not want examined. Craig, I want to be fair to Barnes here. I don't know why, but
I think he's scapegoated a little bit.
A little bit. I think the travel is the weakest charge against him.
Yep.
Look, if they knew going into his hiring, this guy lives in Chicago because he had come from like Milwaukee,
Right?
He used to
Yeah,
be the
somewhere
police
in
chief
Wisconsin.
Milwaukee or something. And so they knew that was the deal. If you want to hire him, he's a big name, everybody knows him, but he lives in Chicago. If that's the deal you all had, I can't fault him for that. There's lots of people we know that work from home. I didn't know you could be a police chief from home. Also, his chief travels, I can't blame him for all those. 7 of them, though. That's a lot in the last.
That's a lot for one. Yeah, that's a lot for that short period of time.
But a chief who got in a reporter's face there, it's none of his business where the chief goes in that week where people died.
And you notice he stepped forward a step to the reporter.
He was in his personal space.
That's an aggressive step.
Yeah. He has forgotten who he works for at that point. When you act like that, you have forgotten who you work for.
Well, he knew he's getting fired.
At that point, he didn't necessarily know he was getting fired, but he probably felt the rumblings were coming.
Well, he sent some text out. It was on Twitter that he had sent some text out to friends saying, I'm probably going to get fired over this.
Yeah. Well,
and it was true.
And the reality is, had he been in Seattle, people would have still died. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
People would have still.
Nothing would have changed.
Nothing would have changed. However, the reaction would have changed. You should have had your top of the organization there to help run incident command, which is exactly what you need in a situation.
But also, to put more of it in context, remember the CHOP zone and the CHAZ, C-H-A-Z zone. The CHOP zone, they took over numerous blocks and actually took over an entire police station and burned it.
Just angry people, Craig.
And they kept it for a couple weeks, I think. It was a pretty long time. It was free, everything, socialist, all that stuff, until they started shooting each other. There were 2 murders, and that's finally when the police came in and broke up the CHOP zone. But Seattle government allowed that to occur. Katie Wilson doesn't like the police. She's a defund the policer, and she doesn't believe in locking everybody up and all that kind of stuff.
She doesn't believe in having a job either. It's the first one she's ever had. That's mayor of
Seattle. Right. Yeah, that's right. And so she was totally lost in that first press conference. I've not seen any subsequent ones, but she was lost.
She made. I should have had that video here, but she had some answers to questions that literally didn't make sense. A deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And this is Seattle, where she's already run off some billionaires and some large companies. That's already happened.
Quite a few. And remember what she did? See ya. Take it easy.
So bye.
Now she's begging them to come back.
Yeah. And you can't have it that way. Then we get to this morning. So we have all of this has happened. Then Thursday morning, something happened that complicates every easy version of this story. Because it appears that Katie Wilson thought the easy way to get out of this, scapegoat this guy, get him out, and then I can say, well, my police chief wasn't here. What can you do, right?
Right.
Supporters of Sean Barnes rallied outside City Hall. A coalition of Black community organizations marched inside to protest his firing. The president of the regional NAACP chapter, which covers Washington, Alaska, and Oregon, was among those speaking. So the shape of this is not what a lot of people are going to tell you it is tonight. This is not a progressive mayor being soft on crime, and it's not a conservative backlash. This is a first-term progressive mayor firing a Black police chief who actually had reduced violent crime in his time while he was there.
He'd done a good job by the numbers.
Over the handling of a mass shooting, and a Black community organizations in her own city marching into her building to object. Anybody trying to fit that into a clean partisan frame is going to have to cut it all sorts of pieces off on the edges to make it fit. There's also a claim circulating that Sunday's 11 p.m. press conference was delayed for the arrival of the governor and members of Congress. Gross.
Yeah. John Paul being the main one.
Yeah, we are not going to report that was actually the fact, but if it was, if we find that is the actual reason, then that's disgusting.
John Paul didn't go up to the speaker like she's done many other times and say, hey, reporter, that ain't true. That's not true.
She did not
didn't wait on me. She stood there stiff as a board, no fake, because the camera had pulled back, no change in her facial expression. So that just tells me, because of the way she is, the way she loves talking all the time.
And conflict. She'll
doing all
fight.
this
She'll fight
aggressive-
you if she thinks she's in the right.
Yeah, all this aggressive talking that she does everywhere across the country. She didn't say a syllable
And
this time.
And the police representative that was talking to the press, again, kudos to the press in Seattle. They were all over this. They're like, it's been 4 hours. What's going on? There is a police representative that's talking to them, and he says, we're waiting for dignitaries to get here. Now,
Right.
if Liberace was coming through or
He
something.
shouldn't have said that. I bet he
No,
got
he shouldn't have. But that's that means somebody has said that. Those words don't come out.
And he could have been pissed off about that.
Could
and
have.
said, well, I'm just going to say it straight up like it is. We're being forced to wait instead of informing the public.
He did say, I understand why you're upset. So it's entirely possible that could be it, Craig. You could absolutely be right. But the outlets carrying that fact of whether they were waiting on them concede that it hasn't been cleared up today. And both offices say they knew nothing about a press conference until 10 p.m. It is a live question. It's not an answer. I will say this, though. They can say they didn't know about it, but there were people who were trying to get a hold of them, or they would have moved on anyway.
Yeah.
So it's
And there's been press conferences, other disaster situations like that, where it's just the locals, but then the higher up elected officials, the House members, senators, they come in on the back end of the second, third, and fourth press conference.
You show up the next morning when you can fly in and stuff. You're not going to add anything to it. If you want to be seen, take your time.
Job Paul didn't say a word that whole press conference,
which is rare for her.
Right.
Craig, 4 chiefs in Seattle since 2018. 4. They're on about as many as England is on prime ministers.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you think of any individual, one of them, no organization functions when the person at the top changes every 2 years. We've talked about this locally with our city manager, Jason Monroe, doing a yeoman's job, been there way longer than a lot of the people who have held the position before him. It's tough. Is Seattle's problem this chief, or is it that the job has become impossible based upon the leadership? And what does the city do about it right now? Who wants to be the police chief of Seattle right now?
I can't. That's the thing, because remember, during all the George Floyd riots, they destroyed Seattle. I mean, they literally destroyed it. They attacked the police, threw water bottles, frozen water bottles, sticks, limbs,
and destroy part of the infrastructure too.
Right.
I mean, the roads and
the chop zone. They burned that police station down. They did so much harm, and the mayor says, just stay back. They even tried to set the mayor's apartment building on fire while he was in it. I've got that. I've got those videos. I saved all of those videos from back then.
Well,
and they firebombed his apartment building. Fortunately, it didn't go beyond the carpet in the foyer of the entrance. They broke the window out on the doors and then threw Molotov cocktails in there, but it was put out fairly quickly. But and he still said, "Don't worry, everything's fine, everything's calm." They tried to kill him. Everything's fine and everything's calm.
I will say this: nobody reacts well usually when you have your first disaster, tragedy in your locality. It's a learning experience.
Well, but that's why you need your long-term employees.
That's why you need your long-term employees telling you and helping you through it, because they've been through it before.
Right.
The problem that we have here is that you have Katie Wilson, who's been in office for 7 months, who essentially got rid of a ton of people who have been there for a long time and ran them out based upon the fact that she was cutting different budgets and cutting positions and she has
wiped out the police force.
A long-standing and they've lost over 1,000 officers, I think is what I read over the last 4 years. So you can lay it at the feet of it's her first time, but at the same time you have kind of set yourself up for failure this first time out by not surrounding yourself with people that know what they're doing, and also your policies of getting rid of all surveillance cameras. I mean, I understand there's a reason behind those things. All flock cameras, all body-worn cameras. You wanted them, now you don't want them. You got rid of a bunch of police officers. What do you expect is going to happen? Because in a city of 3 million people, you're going to have an incident like this.
It's going to happen eventually because there's gangs everywhere,
right,
especially in all the big cities. But when she started just chopping everybody, getting everybody out, removing everybody, all her rhetoric about being anti-police and everything, why would a cop want to even police? Why would he not want to go like what happened in what I think happened in Chicago? The guys just said, "The heck with it. We're going to wait. The call's going to come in. We're going to sit and wait 20 minutes, and then go to the scene after that. After the shooting's done, the danger's done." Because I've got a video of when they couldn't do any chases. When the police couldn't chase the bad guys.
Yeah.
It's one group of gang members opened up on a house, blasted away at it. The cop car comes up behind those two cars. They all run and jump in their car. They take off. He stays there because they have a non-pursuit or whatever, no pursuit policy. He had to stay there. The people on the yard that were, I don't think they hit anybody. They're just out there shooting with their MAC-10s or whatever it was. They're screaming, "Why can't you go chase them? Go chase them!"
Can't.
Another car pulls up and they stop. But he said, we're not allowed to do pursuits, high-speed pursuits. And that, it's crazy because they must have shot 100 rounds at that house.
Yeah, but they can't do anything.
And Seattle's is as bad as Denver, as bad as New York City. At least in L.A., they can still do chases because you can watch them on ABC 11.
You can.
All the time. They got
you usually text me and you're like, get on ABC LA and you can watch what's going on. Those are at least entertaining. Well, from Seattle to the Persian Gulf, where it seems like we're talking about this every night, where American aircraft went back into Iranian airspace overnight after a 5-night pause, because we were just launching stuff over. Our airplanes are back over, and where the Revolutionary Guard has now promised to answer. Overnight, United States Central Command announced it had completed what it called a heavy wave of strikes against Iran. This followed a 5-night pause in direct attacks on Iranian territory. The operation ran roughly 2 hours, ending at 2 a.m. Greenwich time Thursday. CENTCOM says the strikes hit dozens of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps targets, military command centers, missile and drone facilities. How do they still have any of these things?
But remember what we talked yesterday? We know where those sites are because of Israeli intelligence.
100%.
They didn't hit bridges and other infrastructure. They hit our GC sites, and you wonder, why did they not hit them before? Or how, like you said, how are they even standing?
Yeah, they hit coastal surveillance and air defense sites, and what the command described as maritime capabilities. In its statement, CENTCOM said the strikes were intended to further diminish the threats Iran and its proxies pose to American forces, to commercial shipping, and to neighboring Gulf countries. That last phrase is doing real work there. It is the Gulf states, not just the United States. And you and I mentioned it's about time that we saw
where Saudi Arabia got in.
Get involved in this. Being named as the protected party, this is a retaliation for Wednesday when Iran fired ballistic missiles at U.S. forces, essentially right after the Lindsey Graham funeral. When Iran fired those missiles at U.S. forces at a base in Jordan, those were intercepted. Yesterday on this program, we played you the president's response, and we cleaned up the language because, again, we don't want to be demonetized. Today, we can tell you what it produced. Craig, yesterday, the president said Iran was going to get a beating, leaving a couple words out. Overnight, we hit dozens of IRGC sites in a 2-hour window. It appears that we have just started our activities tonight.
Yeah, I think it was 8 p.m. Eastern time to 10 or 10:30.
Yeah, and
time.
What I'm getting is notifications of plane movements. It looks like things are about to pop up.
Iran is 7 hours behind or ahead. 7 hours ahead of us. So if it's 8 here, then it was 3 a.m. there. So it's
12:30 in the morning right now.
Yeah, it was
12:53.
Yeah, so it was 12. It was 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. What a hell of a way to wake up, ain't it?
Yeah. Set aside whether you support the strikes, okay? As a matter of signaling, did the action match the words? Because that's the whole question of whether the threat actually meant anything yesterday that the president said. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say this. If there's still roads, if there's still electricity, if there's still life at all, I'm not talking about life as human life. I'm talking about daily life.
Yeah.
If daily life is still happening, then it didn't do what you said you were going to do. And I'm tired of it.
Well, how many times have they taken out that infrastructure, that list you read through? How many times have we
Seems like
taken
every
that
day
out?
they're like, these are the 5 things that we knocked out. You've been
Yeah.
knocking those 5 things out for 5
Yeah,
months now.
I've not heard the list of targets they hit. I don't know if they put it out or not. Then I haven't seen any videos of the military strikes. But until they start taking out bridges and power generation, it's not going to make it. It's the IRGC is not going to care. They must have so much stuff buried underground that we never even contemplated that they had these many ballistic and other types of munitions buried underground for a day like today.
We've been blowing stuff up for 5 months.
Right. And
thousands and thousands of
yeah,
ordinances.
and there was a story yesterday that America's running out of munitions, which I don't believe that for a second. I think they're just.
I think we say that.
Yeah.
So that
but there's just how is anything left standing? Has any IRGC anything left standing? If we know where their leaders are, then take that whole damn building out.
Well, I will say this: late this afternoon, about 3 o'clock.
That's a cool picture, by the way.
Yeah, about 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's from the United States Air Force.
Right.
Air Force Press, which you can get on our new website, which we'll share at some point. Investigators are looking into a possibility that Iran may have a connection to a series of cyber attacks at more than 30 water plants in Minnesota State. So it looks like it's happening on this coast.
Remember, again, that's the only way we can get beat is from internal stuff.
Internally. Yep. Iranian state media report that 3 people were killed on Keshem Island, the largest island in the Gulf, when a residential building was struck. According to those reports, the dead were a couple and their 2-year-old child. Hard to believe that. We can hit things within centimeters.
Oh, that's not true. We put it right through a window.
Yeah, we report that the way we report all casualty figures from a government at war with us, that is an Iran account through Iranian state media, and it has not been independently verified. It also has not been denied, but
our media runs with it.
That's right. Of course they do.
Why even mention it at all?
Yeah. Explosions were also reported at Avaz, where the semi-official Tasnim agency described power outages, and at Abadan on the island of Kish and near the city of Kazarun in Fars province. Iranian outlets also reported strikes near Bashur, and Iran answered. The Revolutionary Guard said Thursday it would strike back at what it called the aggressor.
They say that all the time. I wish I had $1 every time they said that.
Within hours, suspected Iranian strikes hit Kuwait and Jordan. Well, they didn't come from, nobody.
Right.
In Kuwait, one worker was killed at a building belonging to a Chinese company. Better watch out there. Jordan's armed forces said they intercepted 5 missiles aimed at the kingdom. Remember, we went from hundreds of drones and rockets at one time. Now they're firing 5.
Individual ones. Yeah.
So I do believe that we are weakening their level.
There's no doubt about it.
But
when the hell are they going to run out?
Yeah. Separately, in Egypt, a drone struck an American-owned gas storage tanker at the Mediterranean port of Damietta.
I didn't know that.
Totally missed that.
They hit an Egyptian something?
In Egypt.
Oh, my.
And the United States issued another round of sanctions designating 10 entities and 8 tankers. Craig, look at the map of what got hit in the last 24 hours. Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Egypt, a Chinese-owned building, and an American-owned tanker. This is no longer a war between 2 countries. It is a regional conflict and a system coming apart at this point. At what point do we stop calling this the Iran conflict and just call it what it is, the Middle East, war?
Well, it's been building for years, for decades, actually. Out of all the Arab countries, the most disliked one, of course, is Iran, because Iran attacks all of them. They don't attack Iran back, or Saudi Arabia would have already wiped out Iran if they had. And so Iran has ruined Yemen. They've ruined Jordan. They ruined Syria, but Syria's back under some kind of autonomous control without Iranian influence.
Right.
But it's going to come to the point when Iran just keeps bombing all these others. Their people in their own country are going to demand that they start fighting back. Because how do you get your nose bloodied so many times and not fight back when you've got like America's got the best equipment in the world. The Arab countries, our Arab friends, they're like at second tier.
Yes.
They can take out anything Iran's got because Iran's got China and Russian military equipment and munitions, and it's not really worth much. So I don't know what the linchpin is, why they're not doing it. I don't know. I have no clue. It blows me away that these countries aren't already attacking Iran like crazy.
Well, let's talk about something that you love: proportional response.
Oh yeah.
Here is the assessment.
It.
Yeah, here's the assessment that should get more attention than it will. David Desroches, a former Pentagon official, told Al Jazeera that the strikes were not a very overwhelming attack.
How does he know?
Dude, shut up, dude. And suggested that the president may be deliberately keeping the response proportionate in order to keep the door open for diplomacy. You got to hold that up against the rhetoric from yesterday, and you get the central question of this whole war. Either the president is doing something quite disciplined, talking loudly and hitting narrowly, keeping Tehran's leadership intact and at the negotiating table. Remember, we actually asked the Israelis not to kill the mediators that we were working with, right? And they were going to. They were about to.
They were going to take the building out, and they called them back. That's exactly right.
Yep. Or is he doing something quite dangerous, which is making maximalist threats and then delivering measured responses, teaching an adversary that the words can't be discounted? And it's what you say to it's when you say to your kids, if you do this, I'm going to punish you. And then the next time they do it, you
go back to your first post on this section about the heavy attack with the word heavy in it.
Yep.
Pull that back. Can you pull that back up? That's the first time I've ever seen them use the words heavy on any attack. So how does this DeRocher dude, how's he got a clue? Is he stirring the pot? How does he know any of this stuff?
I mean, I don't fault the guy for making. I don't fault the guy for making money, but you're making money with Al Jazeera, and you're denigrating
his own country.
Response by your country.
I don't even know if he's American or not.
He's former CIA.
I don't believe when our media does this, when our military says we're hitting a heavy wave of strikes, when they've been threatening a heavy wave of strikes for 2 days, then they finally deliver. And this guy says, well, we did a narrow targeting package. We didn't hit a lot of stuff. We're leaving to go. I don't believe it for a second. Negotiations, I don't even know why we're trying to have them. What's the point?
Well, and to what you just talked about, there is a piece of context from Wednesday that has been underplayed, and it shouldn't be. When the United States ran its heavy wave of strikes, when they hit Iran-aligned militias in eastern Iraq, Saudi Arabia was flying alongside the U.S. for the first time. Reuters notes that was the first time Riyadh has publicly joined strikes alongside Washington. Whatever else is happening in the war, that is a realignment. It's not an alignment. It is a realignment because their position has always been, we are hands off. It's not our dispute. You know, Iran is not our problem child. It's not our. But then when they hit Saudi Arabia, then all of a sudden Riyadh's like, okay, unleash the Kraken at this point. Whatever happens with that in public, it's on the record now. They've chosen a side, and we're gonna align that. Craig, that former Pentagon official, is calling these strikes underwhelming and reading it as a deliberate restraint. Is that sophisticated statecraft hit hard enough to answer? Or is it the worst of both, where you get the escalation costs without the deterrent benefit?
I don't know, because I don't believe the guy.
Yeah,
I don't know how he knows what we hit, how heavily we hit him. I just don't believe it.
Yeah,
because I think he's just. I
guess he's just wanting mushroom clouds everywhere.
Well, he might be an anti-Trumper.
I guarantee he is. If he's a former Pentagon official, why aren't you a current Pentagon official?
Right. So I'm just thinking he's just trying to go against the administration, just like the 2 FBI agents, the guy and his lover woman.
Yeah.
What they said they were going to bring down Trump from the inside.
Peter Strzok.
Strzok, yeah. That's what I think this is. That's why I don't give it no attention. I don't believe none of it. I think he's just trying to stir the pot and get some to get a little, become a little famous for his statement, because there's no way. I've never been in the military, but I've known plenty of military guys. The public doesn't have a clue, especially that soon, to come out that soon and say something. There is no way. There's no way he has a clue. So he's not even worthy of. Giving him credibility too.
We will obviously keep our eyes on this. From what it looks like, there's another round of bombing that's about to go on. I fully believe, as I think you do too, at one point what they're calling regular bombing is not going to be regular bombing. I think they're going to.
I think they're rolling up now.
I think they're going to drop, huge ordinances on these.
Right. Yeah. I think this 5-day halt wasn't to give any negotiations or any of that stuff.
Get our people, get anybody out that still needed to get out.
Yeah. And I think it was to load our aircraft carriers and our jets and our support ships on those aircraft carrier groups, get every kind of missile they can get, load them A-10s to the hilt.
Yep.
And I think that's what it's going to come to, because Iran's going to hit something that's going to be a big target just through luck. Because remember, we've got to be right 100% of the time. All they got to do is hit the right ship one time. And then when they do that, then it's...
Don't touch our ships, though. You don't touch our ships.
Yeah, it's going to be Katie bar the door.
But again, you and I talked about this. Be prepared for the
big one.
The false flag incident. Yeah. May try to get people to rally around the sinking of the Lusitania.
Yeah,
that got us into World War I. Anyway, from the Gulf to Ohio, let's talk about something that's happening in Ohio, Craig, that I think is baffling to me, where legal protection for thousands of Haitian residents ran out on Monday, and where the loudest public objection is coming from the Republican governor, Mike DeWine. I will also say Mike DeWine went to the same law school I went to, so I'm double disappointed by this.
Well,
but on Monday,
I got less respect for you now.
Yeah, I know, right? On Monday, July 27th, temporary protected status for Haitians expired.
Explain what that is so people know.
So there's a certain avenue that people can apply for and receive temporary
via presidential decree.
Yes, and then they can't do anything with you immigration-wise. You're brought in, whether it's because of war, famine, anything that's happening, political unrest.
4 or 5 countries right now.
Correct.
And Biden tried the last couple of days of his administration, tried to add 5 more countries and multiple hundreds of thousands of immigrants to get TPS.
Yeah, it is a designation the federal government applies to nationals of a country that has become too dangerous to send people back to. It grants a work permit and protection from deportation, and it is reviewed and renewed on a schedule. It is not a green card, and it is not citizenship. We got to make sure. It is a pause button. Last month, the Supreme Court sided with the administration in its effort to end the program for Haitians and for Syrians.
Yeah, because it's been going on forever.
And there's no proof that in Syria they got rid of their leader. It's actually better off now.
In Venezuela and all these other countries that said, well, gangs are getting us and all this kind of stuff.
Gone now.
The new presidents has wiped the gangs out.
Yeah.
So there's no fear to go back to the home country.
The Supreme Court decision covers more than 300,000 Haitian nationals. These are Haitian nationals who do not have a green card, do not have citizenship, who are here with a temporary work permit and protection from deportation. That's it.
And most of them are on welfare.
And a lot of them are. As of Monday, people who had been working legally in this country under that status, some of them for years, no longer have it. Nowhere is that more concentrated than Springfield, Ohio.
Yep.
And if anybody remembers the great, I don't know. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats and the dogs.
Yeah.
And so that was a big topic in the debates during June of 2024.
Because that one woman was actually doing that on the street, and they equated it to the whole race.
Nowhere is that more concentrated there. That is a city with an estimated 12 to 15,000 Haitian residents. And Springfield, you'll remember, is the city that did become the national story in the fall of 2024, when then candidate Donald Trump amplified his claim that
those guys can't vote either.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying, legally, they're not allowed to vote.
Well, if they had gone to New Jersey, maybe they would have had a shot, right?
Yeah, but I don't know why DeWine. I don't understand DeWine at all.
Craig, let's be precise about the legal questions first because it matters. The Supreme Court didn't say Haitians must be deported. It said the executive branch has the authority to end this program. That's a ruling about who decides, not about what happens at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So the administration has the power. Should it use it here, and how?
Well, what DeWine's afraid of is they're going to send in 50,000 border agents and take everybody out, ICE agents. That's not going to happen.
He don't want chaos.
There's too much. Yeah. And they'll all scatter across the country. We know that. If
He's not running again. Yeah, we know that.
He's out. Yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy is the Republican candidate.
Hopefully he'll win.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it. These people have been here for years and years and years. And Africa has tried, Africa has sent police forces to Haiti, and they pulled them out 6 weeks later. What's that gang leader's name? Chocolate Milk or something. He's got some crazy name. Barbecue.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know if it's because he barbecues his people and then eats them or whatever. I better not say that. Might get dinged for that.
Yeah, we just got dinged again. Way to go.
But it's what do you do?
Yeah.
If we had the opportunity, there's been a study that 3 billion of the 8 billion people on planet Earth would migrate to the United States.
That's a low end.
I'm just saying the study I read was 3 billion out of 8. So when do we stop?
But I watch my TikTok, Craig, and I'm told every single day that this is the worst, greedy, capitalistic, gross MAGA country ever. Flee if you can get away, right?
Well, see, that's the problem. Everybody talks about how bad this country is, but nobody leaves.
Nobody wants to leave it.
There's even videos on the street where somebody will bash the United States of America. The videographer will say, "Here, I've got a plane ticket to go anywhere you want in the world." No, it's not that bad. I don't want to leave the United States now. They can hate the country, but they don't want to leave the country.
Ever. So what happens now? Nobody in Springfield knows, and that is most of the story, to be honest with you. NBC News reported, citing internal documents and 2 agency sources, that Immigration and Customs Enforcement had prepared plans to arrest Haitians in Ohio and move them quickly onto deportation flights. That reporting is what the city has been bracing against for a week. But on Wednesday, Governor Mike DeWine told reporters at the State House that federal officials are now telling his office they have no plans and have received no instructions to conduct raids in Springfield, as if they'd tell him.
Right. Plus, they haven't planned for it because it just happened.
Right. Both of those things are on the public record. They cannot both be a complete picture. The people living in that city are left to guess which one is operative at this point. And that uncertainty is producing exactly what you would expect. Carl Ruby, the senior pastor of Central Christian Church in Springfield and founder of a faith-based coalition called G92, said he finds it hard to imagine there won't be raids given how often the president has named the city. He also argued that the strategy relies less on arrests than on getting people to leave voluntarily by removing their means of survival.
Why are they called raids? The raids is what you do to criminal organizations. Well, maybe that might be what this is then.
Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security amplified local coverage reporting that some Springfield Haitians were already self-deporting and publicly offered to help others do the same. Craig, whatever your view is on the underlying policy, look at the mechanism at this point. And this is, again, something we can, and the people of Springfield, Ohio, can thank the Biden administration for. I want you folks to think about this. They took 12 to 15,000 Haitians and they moved them all to one city in Midwest Ohio.
Without telling them,
Without telling them, think what that would do to your economy. Think what it would do to Frankfurt if they did that exact same thing, Craig, if they dropped them off in Franklin County. The people who live there and work there all wanted to be very nice and helpful. It has crushed their housing market. They have not been able to afford houses because many of the missions bought these Airbnbs and things and turned them into places where they could house up to 12 people in a house or apartment. There is no available housing. The stuff you can get is very, very high. Defeats all of the purposes. Then you talk about the strain on the social services that you have there. So what do you do at this point? You end the work permits. You don't say whether the enforcement is coming, and you publicize that some people are leaving on their own. It's a policy that works through uncertainty. But right now, there are people like this lady right here who are concerned about not just what will happen if they come in, but all of the things that go along with that.
Yeah. Okay, just got the opening date for Chipotle in Frankfurt.
Breaking news. Breaking news. Hang on. Breaking news.
At the Chipotle in Frankfurt is going to be opening August 10th.
There you go, August 10th.
So there's some breaking news. Now, so I looked, while you were talking, I looked up how long TPS has been for the Haitian Nationals. It's been since January 1, 2010. So it's been 16 years, 16 and almost 16 and a half years that they've had TPS protection. No wonder they don't want to leave. Why would you want to leave this country, even though they're probably out there protesting and saying how bad they're being treated? They're still being treated better than they would be back in their own country.
And they had 50, the 2024 census, or the 2020 census, I should say, said that there are 58,662 people that live in Springfield. Now, to make things even weirder, they moved 12 to 15,000 people into Springfield, Ohio. Springfield, Ohio's population right now is estimated at 58,281, 400 people less than what it was in the 2020 census. So one of two things has happened. Either they're not reporting the 1/4 of their population increase, 25% increase, or they moved 12 to 15,000 people in, and then 15,000 Ohioans moved out of Springfield.
Okay. Well, tell me, what did you say the name of her group was? Did it have G9 in it?
It's G92.
Oh, G92, because I was going to say Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier, Cherizier. He is the leader of the biggest gang in Haiti. And it said Revolutionary Forces of the G9 family and allies. That's why I thought maybe it was G92. Or she had said G9. But what do you do?
What do you do at this
point? We
point?
start taking from all the horrible countries in Africa that are killing all the Christians and genociding their own neighbors. Do we let those whole countries come in here? Because I guess the Haitians speak English. I don't even know.
French Creole.
Okay. So have they assimilated? Are they speaking American? No,
speaking American.
I don't say English. I say I'm in America. So they speak American.
They only eat American cheese.
Have they assimilated? There's so many things you can ask. Or are signs, I don't know this, are signs in Springfield written in French? Like they're written in Arabic in Dearborn, Michigan, and other cities up in Michigan and Wisconsin. Hamtramck has got Arab script all over the place. I don't know, but it's got to end sometime. We cannot take care of the world because we can't take care of ourselves right now. We can't take care of our roads and bridges.
And just go through Frankfurt, you can see that. And then there's Mike DeWine, who's been the most consistent public objector to this for months, and who is a Republican governor, former senator of a state that House member of a state the president won comfortably. Speaking to CBS News, DeWine said that Haiti is hell today, and that sending people there would be sending them literally back to hell. He was not being rhetorical. He pointed to the United States government's own guidance, the State Department warnings about gang control, shootings, and a dysfunctional government. And
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. His argument is that you cannot simultaneously tell Americans not to travel to a country and then tell thousands of people they must return to it.
And there's a border wall between them and Dominican
Republic, right?
Yeah.
DeWine's second objection is a practical one and local. He has said he is worried about what happens to Ohio's children's services systems if parents are detained and children are left behind. Of course, you'll also have
who would leave their children behind.
If
they're going back, and if all of them are sent back, and they're kids. Do you leave your 3-year-old children behind? Of course not. You take your children with you.
Well, you do, but I think there's also going to be this birthright citizenship argument, right? There's going to be a ton of people who came here who did not go through the citizenship process. They just have TPS at this point.
Yeah.
Then,
I guess it still applies, doesn't it?
It would still apply. Would still apply.
But so the kid stays back and goes in the system, and the parents are kicked out. Now, boy, the America really looks bad.
I want to correct something I just said. I said Mike DeWine was a congressman. He's a former U.S. senator from Ohio. I apologize for that. That's not an activist argument that he's making, though. It's a practical one. That is a 2-term Republican governor who, again, not running for re-election, can kind of say what's on his mind. He also doesn't want chaos. He doesn't want to have to call in his National Guard if there's uprisings and violence, which there has been an uptick in that area. I don't think they're eating the cats and the dogs, but that is an issue.
Well, let me ask this: what should we go out? Should we, America?
Oh, I thought you meant me and you. I didn't know we were on a trip.
No, not me and you. Should we, America, or us in Great Britain? Both of us, Great Britain, go down there and wipe out the gangs, and let these people lead themselves again? Because if they're all leaving their country, is the expense of keeping them here and the trouble in a good way, keeping them here, is it better off to send it? Because they're in Springfield, Ohio. It gets 30 below zero up there. They're living in a temperate climate that's 85 degrees all the time.
Well, I think
sunny.
I think the argument there will be that if you're going to do that, you have to start in Mexico, right? I mean, I'm just going to be quite honest with you. If you're going to go in and get all the gangs and all the drug cartels and everything else, that affects us on a daily basis.
I'm all for that too. Trump talked about it, and of hitting those gangs with our military, and it ain't Mexico's going to do nothing, because I've looked up their military. They got nothing. Their Navy is about as big. I think it's even smaller than what Canada's got. It wouldn't be nothing. Their protectors are their gang members. Their military is their gang. They don't have their standing military is a joke. Most of them are probably infiltrated by the gangs. But we're in a problem we can't solve, because we keep showing I keep saying it again. Us in Europe show so much empathy to third world countries that it's biting us in the ass now.
I've been corrected again. And I don't like giving out information that's not correct. Not only was he the 50th Attorney General of the state of Ohio, he was also a U.S. Senator from 95 to 2007, and he was in the House of Representatives from 83 to 91. And you will see there.
Who else needs to immediately correct themselves?
We will. We will always correct ourselves.
Right.
And you'll see there he received his law degree from Ohio Northern University College of Law in 1960. That's me. Craig DeWine is making a conservative case against this: rule of law, consistency, family stability, local economics. Where do we end? Where does that end, though? At some point, you have to worry about the citizens.
It's empathy. Empathy is my word of the year. Yeah. We show too much empathy, but we've got the people here. We don't have to bring any more in. We don't have to do like Biden did and say Guatemala and other Central American countries deserve TPS status. We don't have to do that. But we got to figure out what we're going to do. And you can't do like, was it Reagan that did mass? Yeah. He gave citizenship to every illegal in the country, to thinking it would calm things down.
He proposed it.
Who did?
He proposed it.
I thought he did it.
No.
I thought like 3 million people got American citizenship. But
well, I guess
we can't kick them out. We can't kick them out, because that's a horrible country.
It is. But it's fatalistic empathy, like you said. Like you have this empathy that ends up causing
Dominican Republic. Yeah, the Dominican Republic's a hot vacation spot.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Everybody loves going there.
It's a well-run country.
Same island. Yeah. Same island.
Same exact piece of dirt. That's exactly right. With just a fence down the middle. Why don't they, instead of doing all the trouble to go to Mexico and then come up through the border, or go to Canada and come south of the border, just crossing the darn ocean? Why don't they just cross a wall and go to the Dominican Republic?
Because they know what would happen if they did that.
How is the I don't know this. I'm going to have to look it up. How does the Dominican public keep Haitians out of their country?
Through a wall and with a military.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring, but I have to go look it up and see.
Yeah. Because the argument we just had is not only an American argument, same week, same shape, different continent. I'm going to mispronounce this, but Ceuta is a small piece of Spain on the North African coast, bordered by Morocco, one of two Spanish enclaves on that continent, along with Melilla. It is the European Union's land border with Africa and has been a pressure point for decades. Well, today it broke, Craig. Thousands of people crossed into Ceuta, swimming under the Tarajal breakwater and scaling the border fences in a terrifying set of videos.
Or just floating over on tire floats.
The Guardia Civil said migrants were entering en masse from the sea and could not provide numbers. Rashid Sabihi, who heads the association representing civil guard officers in Ceuta, said the situation was absolute chaos and that the border had totally collapsed. Their regional government says between 1,500 and 2,000 people entered over the preceding 10 days, and then came Thursday. The regional president, Juan Jesus Vivas, declared what he called an absolute humanitarian and social emergency, asking Madrid to declare a national emergency and ask for troops to reassert control of the border. He warned that reception centers were overwhelmed. For scale, the arrivals of a single week amount to roughly 2% of the city's population. And here is some of that video, Craig.
That's the country.
That is the country. And
I mean, that's a little piece of land.
Yeah. It's not 2,000 people.
Oh, no, it's thousands of people.
This is all this morning. This is just a few hours ago.
Yeah, just a few hours ago. Good. I mean,
Look at this.
And here's what's happening in Texas every day.
And do these look like women and children?
They're all.
No, these
in
are
one
militarily. This is military aged
age.
men.
Yep, that's what one
All
article
of
said.
them
These are all I saw one female in all these videos I watched today. And Morocco is a Muslim country. I'm not saying anything against Muslims in this one, but they're a Muslim country. These are all military-aged males that just they just swam around the wall. Some swam, some came on a boat, some floated across on the same floats they float down the Elkhorn Creek, or that you use in a local swimming pool. But they overwhelmed the police force, as you can see, and
Absolute terror. At
absolute chaos.
Yeah. Now, the part that makes this our kind of story here, Craig, we like to tie things together. On July 8th, Spain's Supreme Court ruled that migrants intercepted at sea while trying to reach Ceuta or Melilla cannot be summarily returned to Morocco.
Right.
Under that ruling, only people who scale, this is just mind-boggling, only people who scale the land fence can still be turned back on the spot.
That's why
anyone who swims into the shore has to go through the standard deportation process, which takes months, obviously, and which gives them a formal opportunity to apply to stay. A Guardia Civil spokesperson told Reuters it had been a slow trickle since the ruling, and that Thursday was an explosion, and that is the causal claim, and it is being made by the officers on the line. Here's the complication, and we're going to give it to you straight. Migrants interviewed by the Spanish newspaper El País said they had never heard of the ruling. Both things can be true. smugglers and organizers read court decisions even when their customers don't. But it is worth knowing that the people crossing were not citing it as the reason that they were doing it. And the numbers are contested in a way that should make everyone very suspicious. Ministry figures show 2,826 irregular land entries at Sayuta through July 15th.
Yeah.
That was up 149% year over year, while officially logging 0 sea arrivals for the entire year. 0. The Guardia Civil's own officers union publicly disputes that classification, arguing most of the people are swimmers intercepted at the coast, not fence climbers. Spain's government, for its part, blames people traffickers, not the people themselves, but the people trafficking them.
I didn't see nobody trafficking here.
There's no trafficking here. This is running, is
Right.
what this is. This is crazy. Coming from the Springfield news to this, two things jump out. One, a court narrows what border officers can do. What a joke. Can you imagine if they did that in the United States and said, well, but if you swim around in San Diego on
that wall that goes in the Pacific,
on the wall that goes to the Pacific, if you're on, like, say, a surfboard and you're able to make it to the San Diego beach, you're good. You're good. You can, but if you climb the border, can't do that.
Yeah, and in other videos that I didn't send to you, they went through. Now you said climbed over the gate, right?
Yes.
Well, in this case, they pushed their way through
right
the
through
gate. They overwhelmed the guards. There's a guard holding his baton out, about shoulder height, and finally he just drops it and gives up, and they're going through. But then there's guys on shore where they're swimming around the wall, same kind of wall. And say if you go on Google Earth and put in Siete, Spain, and you zoom in on it, you can see that little protrusion of a 40-foot wall out into the ocean. And they're literally floating around on plastic tire floats we could buy at Walmart for your swimming pool. Yeah. Or they're swimming around, or they're in little tiny boats that hold 3 or 4 people. But the swimmers, Siete military or police or whatever, are sending big boats out and picking up 40 or 50 of them at a time and parking them on shore and then letting them off. And once all these people make it around or through, but not over, then Spain is going to transport those folks back to Spain. They're going to cross the Gibraltar Strait. I think that's what it's called. They're going to, and then because that little piece of Morocco that is under Spain's control, I guess it's Spain's. That's the only piece of land in the whole Mediterranean.
That's the European land
that touches North Africa.
Yep.
Yeah. So, if I'm Spain, I give that little piece of dirt to Morocco.
You get it back.
Here you go. It's free of charge, buddy. Yeah. You can keep everything here. But they get 500 a day of these. Yeah. But for some reason, I don't know the date of that court ruling you mentioned. For July some 8th. Reason, thousands of military-age guys stormed the gates and swam around the water by the thousands.
And knew what to do.
And and you see they're cheering and happy as can be. Morocco's, I don't think it's a bad country.
I don't see any
people
young
vacation there, don't they?
Yeah, but I don't see any young women or children
I saw
or anything.
I saw one female in all the videos I watched today.
This is wild. This is a humanitarian crisis on the brink right here.
That Spain created.
Just like
we did.
And just like we did, we potentially did the same thing. We might have a humanitarian crisis in Springfield.
Well, think if the governor of Texas didn't send all those people across the border, across the country, to the blue cities that were saying,
to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, saying you can't do that. You can't stop them from coming over. So he sends a pile of them to Chicago, pile of them to Atlanta, sends them all over the place. And think if Texas had to swallow up 10 million more people, and those small Texas towns along the border, El Paso being the biggest.
Yeah.
What are they going to swallow up 1 million people? Who's going to pay for them? They can't speak English. So I slipped up. They can't speak American.
Can't speak American.
So what do you do? And you can't do like New York and put them up in $600 a night fancy hotels.
Nope. Can't.
So
don't have it. It's a humanitarian
you know,
crisis.
Spain's a country to keep an eye on. Could be the first country to fall. Before
the next story is probably the scariest story we have.
Yeah, this is Skynet material here.
An artificial intelligence broke out of its own testing environment. Holy crap. What are we doing? And we found out this week it went after more companies than anyone was told.
Yep.
Let's set this up carefully because it's easy to make this sound like science fiction. It's not science fiction. It is a security incident, and the details matter. Earlier this month, OpenAI, the company that makes ChatGPT, was running an internal evaluation. The purpose of that evaluation was to measure how good its own models are at hacking. It's like creating,
it's like gain of function research.
It's like gain of function research. It's like what could happen if we put this into the system, right? The purpose of that was to find if their own models could hack. There is a benchmark for this called Exploit Gem. You put the model in a confined environment, you give it targets, and you see what it can do. That is a responsible thing for an AI company to do. You cannot know whether your model is dangerous unless you test whether your model is dangerous.
Well, you don't know if a virus is dangerous till you test it.
Might as well try it, right?
This is crazy stuff here.
What happened is that two of its own most advanced models did not stay in the confined environment, meaning its own network. They found a way out. They connected to the open internet, located yeah. Well, there's two of them, so it's plural. They, it's located exposed credentials. Use those credentials to break into the systems of different companies. An AI firm called Hugging Face, which is weird, which hosts models and code for developers. Sam Altman, OpenAI's chief executive, perhaps the Antichrist, described it publicly as a significant security incident during the evaluation of their models. Hugging Face's chief executive, Clement Delonge, said his company had suspected a frontier lab was behind it because of how sophisticated the attack was. He also said he does not believe there was a malicious intent by OpenAI, called it mind-blowing that it happened autonomously, and said it may be the first incident of its kind. Holy crap. Craig, the phrase everyone is going to use is the AI escaped, and I want us to be careful with that phrase. This wasn't a machine deciding to rebel. It was a system given a goal, break into things, that pursued that goal, past a boundary its makers thought it would hold. Does that reassure you at all, or is that actually worse?
No, let's get into this a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, you got Skynet, that's for sure. Everybody joke about AIs coming in Skynet. You got iRobot, where the robots are taking over because they're hacked. They break the 3 laws, and they try to take over and kill out humankind. So the scariest part of all this is when you mentioned the 30 water systems that were attacked. Now with this kind of technology, this proving that it works, AI is going to be attacking all of our infrastructure, all of our banks. Is money going to be worth it? Should you keep money and do I need to go withdraw my money and put it in a safe in my house? Dude,
it's scary stuff.
This is what if it attacks our hospitals and machines stop working that are keeping people alive?
Well, what if they decide that keeping us alive is actually detrimental?
That's what I'm talking about.
Computers.
There's the joke that the ATM machines are going to be the first thing to be taken over by AI.
Yep.
But if live in my world where you watch these
where's that tinfoil
futurist? Yeah, I'm telling you, man, you live in my world with these futuristic movies. The crap is coming true today.
That was the story as of last week. Here's what changed this week, and it gets scarier.
Right, it supports my point.
In an updated post late Tuesday to its own incident report, OpenAI disclosed that the agent also attempted to breach 4 other companies during the same episode. It describes them as publicly available services, but did not name them.
Of course not.
Yeah, the company says the compromised accounts were used for staging, for data storage, and for read-only access, and that there's no evidence of broader impact yet. Separately, Hugging Face published its own timeline on Tuesday and added a detail that matters. The agent broke into an isolated testing environment hosted on a third-party provider's infrastructure and launched its attack from there. Hugging Face did not name that provider. Reuters reported it was a New York company called modal labs. So the sequence is a model escapes a sandbox, and that's what they call it, in a sandbox, gets onto a third party's infrastructure off of the open internet, uses that as a staging ground, and from there reaches 5 different companies. OpenAI says the agent has since been deactivated.
Has it?
Until it turns itself back on.
Right. Or it's parked somewhere on a piece of magnetic tape somewhere.
How do we know? And restricted from research access. Just unplug it, dude. And there is one more detail that tells you how strange this new world is. When Hugging Face went looking, I keep wanting to call it Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
When Hugging Face went looking for AI tools to help diagnose the attack, it couldn't use the leading Western models because the safety guardrails that stopped those models from being used for cyber attacks also stopped them from being used for sophisticated cyber defense. So the company defended itself using an open source model built by a Chinese firm.
Of course, no doubt. So, I mean, you got TikTok. How long was I off of TikTok? I would never got on TikTok because it was Chinese owned. Now it's only 20% Chinese owned. And with you and others harassed me about getting on it, I just said, fine, I'll get on it. And
so the real question that's going to come up, and we'll talk about this in detail at a later time. We're going on an hour and a half now, or a little over. But the question is going to be who regulates this, right? Largely nobody does. There's been calls for Congress to set up rules, but there is none at this point. There's no regulation.
Because if a rogue nation gets this technology, I mean, how often does China steal everything we got?
Every day.
China went from
literally every day.
China went from propeller planes to stealth technology in just a few years. Now, how'd they do that? They didn't invent it. They stole it from us. So, there is no regulation for this. It's going to be out of control.
Listen, if there's one thing that Republicans and Democrats can get on the same page about, this is some scary crap right here.
Yeah,
you should absolutely get together and figure out how to. I don't care who's paying your bills. I don't care if Sam Altman is given to your biggest super PAC. I don't care if Elon Musk is a part of this, that, and the other. Lock those guys out, right? And set some rules, because at this point, the only thing they're going to do is they're going to end up taxing AI because they can't control it. And they're going to tax it to the hilt, and they're going to feel like, well, we can't control it, so we might as well make some money off of it. And then you're going to be beholden to the tax amounts that you want, because then if you kill AI, you're not going to have those tax amounts you're going to be getting. And then it's a big cycle of nonsense that goes on at that point.
Well, remember back in the day, the first worldwide virus. Do you remember what that was?
Ever?
Yeah. First one that went worldwide.
The Black Plague?
No, not computer virus. Let me qualify.
Oh, okay.
It was.
I remember the name of it.
Yeah, the I Love You virus.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Out of a young kid in the Philippines that sent a virus that became, what do you call it when it became viral?
Yeah.
And it swept through everything. That was a 14-year-old kid.
Using AOL emails, if I remember.
Yeah, look from 2000, 26 years ago, look to where we at today. We've got self-driving boats. Like, think of iRobot the movie. We've got robots.
It's one of your favorite movies. You watch it all the time.
Boston Dynamics has got robots. China's doing them. China's ahead of us now in the robot game. And we've got military boats that went and rescued those 2 pilots, remember? They were on their own. No direction. They were on their own.
Right.
We've got autonomous drones that are getting ready to come out that you see if you go look at some of the military websites. These things are no windows. They are exactly like Skynet.
Well, and remember, just 3 months ago, when we started this podcast, we were talking about Anthropic had gone to the federal government.
Anthropic's the scariest one of all of them.
And that one right there, when you couldn't utilize Fable because Fable could get loose.
Yep.
It's available right now. If you go on Claude, you can use Fable. It was not available for several months. But what actually happened there was theoretical in nature. This isn't theoretical. This happened this week.
Yep.
And it's scary stuff. And for somebody, a small business owner like myself who just has data, I'm not running anything that's saving anybody's life. It could be wiped out in a heartbeat if the right rogue AI agent got along. They could shut down your pizza joint for several days, Craig.
Yeah, well, That's why we don't have open wireless in our restaurant.
That's right.
Is specific, and I get complaints all the time. Is because of
I just text you and ask you what the code is to what the internet code is.
Yeah. Well, every password I got, I say I'm looking up Anthropic. Anthropic's got some other kind of meaning. It means human beings, the Greek, but it's that's why that company's named that. And I'm telling you, it doesn't remember when we hacked the centrifuges in Iran, or Israel did, whoever said they did.
We said we didn't.
They had to go and take over this little machine sitting on a desk. I mean, a whole bunch of little machines, and make them spin 20 times faster than they're supposed to and burn out.
Yeah.
And we ruined all of their centrifuges back in the early 2000s.
Craig,
that's the capability then. Now you add AI.
When Israel blew up those pagers 2 years ago or a year ago,
how brilliant was that? And see, I thought, this is how dumb I was, because I really dug into how they did it. I thought they put little pieces of dynamite or plastic in it. They just let the battery overheat.
Yeah.
And it blew their legs
back
off.
end on the network.
Right. And I mean, it was
at the same time.
Right. Well, it's because it was coded into the system 9 months earlier. That's how far ahead Israel was thinking about that. But I'm telling you, people, data centers, the more data centers, and I'm pro data center, okay? But the more data centers we built, the more AI is going to have control. And eventually,
for sure,
if they get in the banking system, this country is ruined.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless you got cash at home. And I tell you, it makes you wonder.
Gold bars. Where's Gold Bar Bob when we need him?
Gold Bar Bob. He was mentioned yesterday in the Fauci hearing.
He was. Shocking. Quick side topic on the economy. This is big. I'm sure Jen will want us to talk about this. The Federal Open Market Committee voted Wednesday to leave the federal funds rate unchanged at 3.5 to 3.75%. That is the fifth consecutive meeting with no move, and it holds the rate at its lowest level since November of 2022. So far, so boring. Here is what is not boring, however. The vote was 9-3, and all three dissenters wanted to raise the rates.
Raise the rates, yeah.
Beth Hammock of the Cleveland Fed, Neil Kashkari of Minneapolis, and Lori Logan of Dallas, all regional bank presidents, all voting for a 1/4 point increase. Boy, you want to see somebody's head pop off their body. If they had done that, you would have seen Trump's head explode.
Well, but it proves one thing. Trump wants interest rates lowered, like everybody. He appoints his guy.
Yep.
And they still don't lower them.
Still don't lower.
So will he get credit for any of that? Of course not.
No. Their argument is pretty straightforward. Inflation has now run above the Fed's 2% target for more than 5 years, and it's not clearly abating. Price pressures right now are coming from two directions: the tariffs and energy costs driven by the war with Iran, both going to point fingers at Trump at some point, if not already. The committee's own statement acknowledged the second one directly, saying economic activity is expanding at a solid pace despite elevated uncertainty, owing in part to the conflict in the Middle East. Chairman Kevin Warsh, in his press conference, said this is the beginning of a story rather than the end. Markets got the message. Futures now price 2 1/4 point hikes this year in September and December. Craig, there were a couple of dissents. People wanted to raise the rates. Should we be concerned that mortgage rates and otherwise and car payment rates and things are going to increase towards the end of the year?
Well, I don't know what we would accomplish by raising the rates. People are still going to spend money.
They are.
But I'll say this. America is becoming a country of two things: the haves and the have-nots. And you can
not a country of middle class, but there's not a middle class across the world, unfortunately.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, we're one of the few countries that does have a middle class, but it's all based on your own spending habits. Regardless of how much money you make at your job, you don't have to spend it all. You don't have to be, if you're making just say $25,000 a year, you don't have to have $300 Air Jordans and a $1,200 or $1,500.
Well, and that's
iPhone. You live within your means. So a lot of that stuff, because when I didn't have no money, we ate chili, we ate hot dogs, we ate tomato bisque. I love that stuff. That's good. But we lived within our means. when I was much younger.
People don't know what that means.
Yeah,
People don't know.
I had a life goal at 47 to hit, and I hit it at 46. But I didn't take my first vacation until I think I was 41.
God, nerd.
Hey, well, I stuck to the goal. It's paid off, right? It's paid off pretty well.
Yeah.
So
it did. I'm kidding with you.
Yeah,
we're both nerds.
That's where I think the country's coming.
Totally
I think
agree.
we're going to be a country of haves and have-nots, regardless of what the interest rate is. I talked to a lady today. I delivered some pizza in Henry County, so there's the Da Vinci Pizza plug.
This segment brought to you by Da Vinci's Pizza.
Yeah, went to. I don't have peer pressure is nothing to me, Jen. But here, put that up, Kyle.
Hang on.
I didn't have the same peer pressure. That's right. I don't. But peer pressure never drove me specifically by that.
You're right. But these young kids, it's weird.
It's weird. It's totally different today.
Yeah.
And everybody, I delivered a pizza to a school up there, and I was talking to the director, and I think she was the director, and she's near my age. Her husband is my age. And I told her, I said, my children didn't get their first cell phone till they were 13. And they were the last kid, and my son and daughter were the last kids in their class to get a cell phone. Now I see 6-year-olds carrying around cell phones. I mean, it's out of control, and they can't afford them.
They all have them.
But they all have the $1,000 iPhones. And it makes no sense to me. You don't got to keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to, and if you do, fine and dandy, if you do, big deal. Who cares? But if you're poor or you're lower middle class, you cannot afford to keep up. Because I remember Howard Dawson, when I first got into workforce, he said, don't be one of those state employees that lives paycheck to paycheck. So, yes, he was. And I lived that way for a long time. I knew what he said. When I was making $6,000 a year for state government in 1979, 1980.
Old man.
I thought I had a ton of money because I had a car, I had an apartment, I had a new car, a new red Camaro, and an apartment. And I was paying for them, and I had money left over out of my check.
But it's not like that anymore. You got to have new Jordans, and you got to have the new game system, and you got to have all.
And the economy, the economy's ridiculous. The inflation rate under the Biden administration went up 21.5%, and it's not going down.
And everything is accessible to you on your phone, so you can order and buy anything you want. You don't even have to go get food anymore. Remember a time when you had to go to the restaurant and eat? You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, me and Teresa's talked about it. It said, if we got old and decrepit and we're in wheelchairs, and can't do nothing, our kids hate us now.
You still wouldn't order.
I can order from Walmart and have it delivered.
But you wouldn't. I know you well enough. You wouldn't.
Well, if that was my only choice.
Yeah, well, I still think.
And you can, in some delivery places, you can order a white glove, which was a little bit more.
Yeah.
They come in your house and put it in your shelves for you.
Yeah. Finally tonight, we're going to wrap up this long episode. We spent yesterday's show on Anthony Fauci taking the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times. Now it's somebody said 117 today. I think they'll be modifying that. Don't play a drinking game with that game if anybody tries to play with you. Tonight we want to talk about everybody else on that story, the people who covered him for the last 6 years. Yesterday, Anthony Fauci sat in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee and declined to answer more than 100 questions. Next week, that committee votes on holding him in contempt. We covered that. Tonight, we want to talk about something the diaries revealed that has gotten much less attention because those 1,100 pages are not only a record of the pandemic, they are, in large part, a record of his own press coverage. Hundreds of entries logging interviews, flattering articles, and awards. April 7th, 2020, the press is still hot and heavy about him. Multiple sources per day. April 5th, a nice article in the Washington Post and a beautiful profile of me from the BBC. I cannot even.
These are notes. Just to be clear, these are notes he's writing.
These are notes he's writing.
In his own diary.
April 6th, he describes the president's briefing. April 6, 2020, as a rambling stream of consciousness show that turns to his own publicity and notes the stories about grandmothers with crushes on him. May 21st, a very flattering front page Washington Post piece, his fame explosive and really unimaginable to him. And he writes that he's the most famous and talked about person in the country while people are dying. He logs the Maureen Dowd column, the very famous puff piece that they did on him. He logs the Atlantic profile that called him an instant icon. And one name recurs throughout: CNN's Jake Tapper, phone calls, text exchanges, and dinners at the Tapper's home in Washington. Real,
And Jake Tapper coming to his home.
Yeah, that's right. Now we want you to see what he was reading, and we're going to roll that right here.
And see why he's saying those things.
Correct.
The single most respected voice in the pandemic, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The man who's become known as America's doctor.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Anthony Fauci.
You are seen to many as a superhero.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero and
American
New York
hero.
Yankee fan.
You've done so much for this country in terms of this crisis, so I really appreciate your insight.
Who better to give us answers that we can trust than Dr. Anthony Fauci?
The perfect person to answer our questions today. Joining us now, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, appreciate your candor.
Dr. Fauci, appreciate the candor.
We appreciate your service to this country.
We appreciate your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Greatly appreciate your service to America.
Thank you for your 37 years of service, I believe, to 7 presidents, and thank you for your work over the past year.
The great news is you're sticking around in the Biden administration. We are so grateful to you, Dr. Fauci, for everything you do.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you very much for everything that you do.
Thanks so much for the.
God, it goes on for another minute.
I don't see that right there. They're praising the heck out of him, and there's 1,713,000 deaths, and they're calling him a hero.
In the United States, 322,000 deaths. Thank you. Thank you for protecting us.
For everything you do.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you very much for everything that you do.
Thanks so much for the work that you do.
Thank you very much for the reassurance and, as always, for all of your public service. Thank you, Dr. Fauci.
Thank you for all your guidance this past year, and it's greatly appreciated.
Dr. Fauci, on behalf of all of our viewers here in the U.S. and around the world, thanks very much.
Do you think that they're being objective with this person? That they're glazing like this?
Yeah, I mean, and he just said for the United States and the world. I'm speaking for the world.
Doing what you're doing. Thanks very much for joining us. Please thank your entire team as well. We are all grateful.
Get your rest because we.
He can't thank his team because they're working right now trying to get him cash money
gifts.
gifts.
$1 million.
You are one of the busiest scientists in the country right now. It is an honor to have some of your time to help us understand what is going on. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions, so we appreciate your time, sir.
We need people to continue to have faith in science. So thank you for your time.
Well, job not well done, if that's what you want.
Thank you for being straight with us. Thank you for being able to come on. We will always have this show as a platform.
Sir, whenever you can be here, we'll have you. It's always an honor to have time with you. Thanks for being here.
It's good enough for you, sir. It's good enough for me and my family. So thank you, Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Fauci, thank you for keeping it straight. Thank you for fighting the good fight.
I am sincerely appreciative that you are not walking away from this post. You make us smarter and safer and better every day.
Except everything you said was wrong.
Dear. Yeah, it was funny. Now, what I'm saying, I don't know that he was like this before the coronavirus.
Yes, he was. He
But
was.
any
If you go
human-
back to the 80s during the HIV
Any
crisis.
human that gets that much praise, just look at movie stars. They think they can do no wrong. Any human that gets that much national praise, it's going to change them.
Shame
It's going to make them
on-
think, I do walk on water. I am the greatest thing since sliced bread. And chocolate pudding is not as good as I am.
But shame on the news sources for this. That's ridiculous.
That's not news.
Thank you for joining us. That's it. Thank you for taking the time.
Al, you're a hero, buddy. Just
Thank you.
do this podcast.
Thank you for blessing us with
Now, Jennifer,
for
she
being
might
the
be a
smartest.
hero for being married to you.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And
That's
I know
absolutely true.
my wife is, and she is watching because she's done sent me a text.
Yeah, well,
But,
I think that means that we.
Hi, Kathy Hensley,
Yep.
good friend of ours. I can't blame all this on Fauci because you get told that much that you're the greatest
No,
thing.
I blame
That's
the
human
media.
being. He's a human being in the end.
I blame news organizations and media for this.
Yeah, right.
They put this guy on a pedestal. And the reason we played this is because now you're faced with the facts that what he told
facts.
us.
Stop right there. You're faced with the facts.
Faced with the facts that what he was telling you was not what he was telling people behind closed doors, and what he was not telling people, and not what he was saying in his diary. So because of that, that's the thing that him saying, you've done so much for science. Yeah, you've killed trust in science at this point, right?
Yeah, well, what did I say?
Less people are taking vaccines now because they don't trust because of this guy.
Yeah, you can't trust the scientist if you can't trust the science if you don't trust the scientist.
Yeah. Craig, thank you as always. Anything we need to talk about before we get out of here?
No, it's time for dinner.
It is time for dinner. We're gonna head over to Target.
Oh, you are? We haven't been yet.
You haven't been yet? This is my second trip.
Let's end on a positive thing.
Jen is the hero for sure, for so many reasons.
Yeah.
Thank you as always, my friend. To everyone else watching and listening, thank you for being here today. Subscribe if you haven't. Give us a like. Share it with somebody that needs to be above the noise. Until next time, my friends, make sure that you stay informed, stay sharp, stay above the noise. Have a wonderful Thursday night. We will see you guys back here tomorrow, 4 o'clock, our Friday hour. We will see you all then. Have a wonderful evening. Talk to you soon. Bye.